Okay, we're gonna get started in like 2 minutes. People are still signing on. So everyone take like another 2 minutes to get together, whatever you want before we start. And then we'll be back in about a minute or two. Okay, I think we're gonna get started. We have a bunch of people on. So thank you everyone for being on time. For those of you who know me personally, know I very much like to be everywhere on time or early. So thanks for being here early. Um, And um, so for tonight's webinar, we're going to be talking about starting the new year healthy and affordably. So again, for those of you who do know me, are familiar with Fair Meals, you know that we're all about easy, healthy, affordable nutrition. And with the new year coming up, last month we spoke about eating healthy for the holidays. And there's been a lot of that, with Thanksgiving, and now we have Christmas coming up, um, and New Year's. And I think now the next step is people kind of trying to get these New Year resolutions in. And I think especially this year, there's a lot of people are really hoping for change and change in just generally what's going on in the world, but also just personal change. And I think every year people are looking for that. And I find just people that I've been speaking to, whether it be clients or friends, just this year it seems like there's more of a motivation, there's more of this drive for personal change. So I thought this was a really great, appropriate topic to be speaking about. And I'm so excited to have Sydney as our moderator for tonight, and I'll introduce her in a few minutes. So before we get started, I just wanted to let people know, in the past, it's worked out really well for people to kind of just throw in their questions in the chat box, and Sydney will be kind of looking out for those questions as they come in. And we usually have time for them as we go along. So we'll kind of stick with that. If we see we're running out of time, I'll say that we'll wait until the end. But just for start off purposes, we'll definitely say we will take those questions as we move along with tonight's webinar. So thank you guys for being here. Just a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to introduce myself, Fair Meals, and our moderator, Sydney. And then we're going to talk about healthy habits, how we can form healthier habits in the New Year's, both nutritionally as well as affordably, how we can have some of these healthier habits to make our nutrition more affordable. Metabolism, what is metabolic health and why is it important? I think there's so much that people use this word and throw this word metabolism around all the time, and I don't know if people necessarily know what that means. So I wanted to talk about that, and I thought it was a really appropriate time to speak about that as well. And for those of you who have been here before, I know that I always like to give examples. So application, what does eating for metabolic health look like? What are some examples of foods, of some meals that we're going to be eating? What are some examples of those? So that's really what we're going to cover tonight. And I'm really looking forward. I think it's a really great slide of content that we have. And so I'm looking forward. So again, I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions, all of your engagement and comments that you have, and so on and so forth. So to start off, I'm going to introduce Fair Meals like I always do. We are a 501c3 status nonprofit, and we're a free online platform that offers families healthy, simple, and affordable meal solutions. We do that with our programming primarily through nutrition education. And our mission really is to empower families with the nutrition education, step-by-step recipes, and budget planning to make meals healthy, easy, and affordable. And our long-term vision is to really help combat America's chronic disease crisis by making healthy food an option for every family and making it known to every family that it's an option. And I think that goes back to our mission about empowering families as well. So about me, my name is Ariel Kestenbaum. I should have said that in the beginning. If I didn't, I'm sorry, because we do have a lot of new names here. So my name is Ariel Kestenbaum. I founded Fair Meals to offer nutritional guidance and easy recipes that empower families to eat well on a budget. I am a registered dietitian, so I went through all of the schooling and all of the training, as well as took a board certified exam to become a registered dietitian, and I have a master's of science in nutrition and dietetics from NYU. I'm also a mom, and I know how difficult it can be to provide healthy meals for my family that are also convenient and affordable. And I think this is something people really were looking for as the pandemic hit, which is really when we started Fair Meals. And that was, a big reason of why we started it. It's because I know from my own experiences and just seeing what was going on, so many people needed this type of resource to help just to help with this to have a platform to help them with convenient and affordable and easy and healthy meals. So with this resource, I really hope to help families from all walks of life. About Sydney, so she is a national on-air entertainment and lifestyle expert. She's the host of Instagram live talk show Lunchtime with Sydney. She's penned the book Aim High, How to Style Your Life and Achieve Your Goals, which went #1 in Amazon's fashion category. She started her career as an editor at the Daily Front Row, the long-running Bible of the New York Fashion Week, covering the red carpets of the Met Gala, the Grammys, and other top events for years. And she's a graduate of George Washington University School of Media and Public Affairs. And I recently just started following her on social media, and she is absolutely a breath of fresh air. And I really recommend everybody following her. She's motivating, she's funny, she's just light and a good time. So definitely recommend. And Sydney, without further ado, I'm going to let you take over and moderate tonight's event.
Thank you so much, Ariel, for the introduction. So sweet. I'm so excited to be here because I feel like I have been snacking for the last 2 years. And I feel like this is not only a great reset for the new year, but just in terms of getting back out there a little bit more. I know the pandemic is still absolutely insane. I'm so glad that this is virtual and we're all able to do this on computers. But I still feel like we all kind of developed these habits throughout the height of the pandemic that we probably did not have before. And so this to me is even more of a bigger picture moment to really embrace ourselves and the great things that we can put in our bodies and just learning so much. But I'm so curious, Ariel, for you, what is the first thing that you do to change your mindset when you know that you need that healthy start? Because I feel like it's so difficult to get out of that, routine.
It is really difficult. And that is so much why I wanted to talk about this, because I know how difficult it'd be. And somebody who is so cognizant about diet and nutrition, I do know, and I do get into these funks all the time. And I think sometimes just a reset for me is just knowing that it's okay and it's normal, and we can't be angry at ourselves for getting into these funks. And I think what you said was really true about, and probably why so many people are excited about this new year and kind of these new resets, because for the past almost 2 years, we've all really developed, poor habits, and not even only eating poor habits. Some people have developed poor eating habits and then developed poor diet habits, right? And we're going to talk about that in the next few slides. So I think just kind of reassuring yourself that it's normal, it's okay, and there's nothing wrong with that, kind of helps me reset and be okay, you know what? I had a bad week. I had a bad, whatever, a few weeks. Now let me kind of get into this good good cycle of following good nutrition and being a little bit better. And that usually, and I'm going to talk about it. And one of the things we're going to talk about is meal planning. And that usually is something that helps me kind of get into that or reset. So we'll talk about that in a second. So I think the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to launch a poll. And we're going to do, I still can't figure out how to get all the questions separate at separate times. So I'm going to launch a poll right now, and then we'll speak about the specific questions as we go along with the webinar. So everyone take like 30 seconds to answer, and then we'll go through it.
I'm going to even participate in the poll.
Okay.
Oh, I can't vote. Never mind.
Oh, it's not letting you?
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't even know that.
But these are great questions.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to hear what everyone votes.
All right, there we go. Everyone's starting to vote now. It's all coming in. All right, I'm going to give everybody, because we just started getting a lot more people voting. So I'm going to give everyone another like 10 seconds, and then we're going to go.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, I'm going to end the poll now because we got a bunch of votes in. Okay, so healthy habits. So how can we form healthier habits in the new year? So that's the first question, is what are 3 unhealthy habits as it pertains to nutrition? So everybody actually got this right who voted. Is follow fad diets, diet for weight loss only, and eliminate food groups. So good job, everyone got that right. I'm glad to see everybody got that right. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Sorry, I just jumped, got a little happy with the trigger over there. Okay, so so follow fad diet, so unhealthy diet, so follow fad diet. So that is something that has been so exacerbated by this pandemic, are people following fad diets. And I think that's happened, kind of what I just alluded to before, is that people get into these cycles of like bad eating habits. A lot of people are still working from home. I think people, like, some people went back to work, then are back at home. They kind of go along with these waves that we're going through. And they're kind of following those waves in terms of what they're doing when they're working from home, or even in their offices. They kind of get into these routines of like poor eating. And then sometimes people are, they're working late, and then they end up eating dinner late, and then they end up almost like binge snacking. And then people feel like they need to go into these fad diets. So a lot of people start following keto, or they start doing intermittent fasting and all of these fad diets. And we can talk about these diets another time. My feelings, generally speaking, are I'm not for them. I think it really depends on, why they're doing it, why they need to do it. But anyways, yes, that's typically these fad diets do fall under that umbrella of an unhealthy habit. Also, just losing weight or eating healthy just because they want to lose a lot of weight. That shouldn't be the main reason of why we want to lose weight. So that's just that's more of an unhealthy mindset, I would say, than an unhealthy habit. I'm not saying losing weight is bad. I think that, there are definitely appropriate times people should lose weight, but it should not always be that primary focus. It shouldn't be the only focus at all. And then also eliminating food groups. That is definitely something we don't want to do. I know, carbs and fats have this horrible rep. And as a dietitian, it's really upsetting because there are really healthy carbohydrates. There are really healthy fats. Our bodies and our cells need carbs. They need fats in order to survive. We need energy. We get energy from these foods. We get tons of nutrients from these foods that our bodies need and our cells and bodies crave. So eliminating these food groups is actually super, super detrimental. And they're unhealthy habits, and quite frankly, unsustainable. So what can we do? We can kind of like shift this mindset. So we don't want to follow fad diets. We don't want to, the primary focus should not be just to lose weight. And it also, of course, we don't want to eliminate food groups. So what can we do? What can we do instead? So for following fad diets, how can we kind of shift this mindset? We can prioritize nutrient density and satisfaction. So nutrient density, and I've spoken about this in a few of my webinars, but it's basically making sure or being cognizant of eating foods that have a high nutrient profile. We want to make sure we're getting nutrients such as the macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbs, and healthier proteins, fats, and carbs, excuse me, as well as the micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals, and fiber, which actually falls under the carbohydrate category. But we want to make sure we're getting, a nutrient-rich, a nutrient-dense food, or foods, or diet rather. Losing weight, we want to focus on exercise, getting adequate sleep, and minimizing stress. That's all going to be important. And these are all things that we should be focusing on. And then eliminating food groups. We want to practice moderation and eat regularly throughout the day. And I think that kind of talks a little bit about into the intermittent fasting diet. And I think or the way of eating rather. And I think, it works for people, and I don't want to get into that right now, but I think that it is important for us to eat regularly throughout the day. And we'll talk about metabolism in a few slides. But we should practice moderation. Moderation is super important. And I know it's, it may seem like a cliche thing to say that everything in moderation, but it's really true. We do need everything in moderation, and we do want to eat regularly throughout the day. We want to have 3 meals and 3 snacks, or what we call 5 smaller meals. And we should not be eliminating anything, and we should not be eliminating any meals. We need these meals. Like I said, our bodies and our cells, they thrive off of these meals and these food groups, and we should not deprive our bodies. I'm just going to grab some water. I apologize.
Go ahead. I was going to say, Ariel, that I feel like a lot of times in the media, and a lot of us aren't picking up magazines as much anymore, but we still see these headlines in the news where celebrities, they lost 25 pounds in 1 week. We see so many of these
exactly
around this time of year. And I think it's really important that you're basically saying, like, that is not realistic. That is not what's going on. And this is a more, lifestyle approach to getting, into that shape.
Exactly. And by the way, there's a reason we hear about these celebrities doing it, but then we don't then it kind of drops off because it's not sustainable. So they start it, and then we see, they look great, and then we don't really hear about it. And it's because they're not going to then say, hey, this diet didn't work for me. So that's why there's a reason that we hear about it, and then it kind of falls off the radar as well.
It's so true. Someone has a question here, which I think is very fitting for this topic. So someone wants to know, Ariel, what is your opinion of eating late? I love a good snack right before bed, ice cream, or even some pasta or rice. How detrimental is this to my health?
So I would say that before bed, and it shouldn't be right before bed because there's just a ton of things, like for just digestion purposes, it's not good. It also can bring up things such as like reflux and things of that sort, and just cause discomfort, general discomfort. But I would say even a half hour before bed is fine. I know some people say don't eat, before an hour before bed, but a light snack is fine. Something like pasta, rice, every so often that's fine, but I wouldn't say that's a good snack to have every night before bed. I think before bed, a good thing to really prioritize, and I really do this with my son a lot too, something that has protein in it. So sometimes I'll do a few crackers and peanut butter. That's a good, or a cheese stick, or some nuts are even good before bed. And that's, that has some protein in it, but really has those fats in it. Something that's light, but again, has these nutrients or nutrient dense. Those are things that we should be focusing on before bed. So I'm going to say we don't want to have our meals too late. We don't want to have dinner so late. But having a snack late, a half hour before bed is fine. We just want to be focusing on having the proper nutrients and the right snack for us.
That's great. Great answer.
That was a good question. Thank you for whoever sent that in. So I think then we had another question about this, right? Oh yeah. So what are healthy shopping habits for affordability? So we had a bunch of people who said buy in bulk. And then we had some people who did answer the question, always buy fresh and organic produce. So the answer is buy in bulk. Buying fresh and organic produce is definitely not always the most affordable option. It's actually usually not. Um, if it makes sense for us, if there's a regular orange that's 99 cents and the organic one is $1, go for that. But it has to make sense for you. I think that's a really personal thing. And I'm definitely not here to tell everybody to always go organic, because I think that it really depends. But just, back to the healthy shopping habits for affordability. So buy in bulk. And I'm not saying to buy everything in bulk. And I've said this at numerous of my webinars as well, but things that are, readily eaten in your home, right? So whether you live with roommates, whether you live alone, or you have a family, if there's like some sort of grain that people eat all the time, like for example, rice and quinoa are two grains we go through so fast in my home. So I buy big bags of that. I really buy that in bulk, and it lasts us a long time, and it really ends up saving you money. It's annoying for storage purposes, especially living in an apartment. But for money saving purposes, it's definitely a money saving tip. And for people that like to have snacks like nuts or seeds, or things like legumes, these are really good things to buy in bulk because they don't go bad and they're shelf stable. So we don't want to buy things in bulk, obviously, that are going to spoil quickly, because that's generally going to be more of a waste of money. But for things that are shelf stable and things that we eat, a lot of in our homes, it's definitely a good thing. So shopping the sales. So we want to plan meals around what's on sale and what you have coupons for. So there's going to be a little bit more time investment up front. So I'm not going to say this is an easy thing, but in terms of affordability, this is definitely going to be helpful. So sometimes if you go to the supermarket and you get a little circular, or sometimes now supermarkets send coupons, through email. So having those, seeing what's on sale beforehand, and planning your meals around that is going to be a huge money saver. And it's definitely something that I think is worth doing for a lot of people. Choosing canned. So, I'm not going to sit here and say everything should be canned, but there are certain things that should definitely be canned and really can be canned. So for example, like tuna, salmon, sardines, these are great proteins and great shelf stable items that are extremely cheap that we can find at the supermarket. They're good things. They're good things to have for lunch. If you don't know what to eat, you can throw canned salmon or canned tuna on a sandwich or in a salad or something. And again, they're very, very affordable. Peas, sweet potatoes, corns, legumes, these are all great things to buy in cans. They're shelf stable. They're usually very affordable, readily available. We can find them pretty much everywhere. So they're good things to stock up on. And frozen first. There's such a misconception about frozen fruits and vegetables. They are generally and pretty much always more affordable than the fresh option. I don't like to use the word always because I hate to use these like umbrella terms, but I think for anytime I've seen it, they're definitely more affordable. And actually frozen produce is usually frozen at peak ripeness. So we get usually the same amount of nutrients, and sometimes we get even more from frozen. So that's just something that's really important to know. And we can use frozen in so many meals and so many dishes. Like even, the other day, I last minute decided to make dinner. I was not going to make dinner, then I wanted to. I had some frozen broccoli. I threw it on in a pan, threw it in the oven, and dinner was ready. So it's a really good thing to have to stock up on. They're very affordable. We don't have to worry about things. Yeah, super convenient. Again, we can find them everywhere. And yeah, and frozen is definitely our friend. And we should not be afraid of it. So
I get weirded out, honestly, by some frozen foods, vegetables and fruit. I feel like super easy. But when it comes to, I always joke like storing even breads, the fact that it can just come back to life. And I know that's the purpose of a freezer after weeks and weeks. It's so strange.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. I sometimes feel that way too, actually. Like even like with the frozen broccoli, I was thinking like, this is so crazy. Like I generally like you try to use fresh, but frozen's such a great option. And I forgot about it. I'm being honest, I forgot about it so much, like to use it as like just as it is. I use it all the time in smoothies, I use it in soups and sauces, but we really can use it also just, to roast or to steam, and we're getting such great nutrients from that, and we need to know that. And like I said, they're generally more affordable, so
Someone
they need to be
wants
our
to
friend.
know which frozen veggies, Ariel, have the most nutrients.
It's not even that's not even like something I can answer, because like I said, they're really, all fruits and vegetables are frozen at peak ripeness in order to, to maintain those nutrients, and also to maintain taste, and so that taste and everything does not deteriorate. So it's a really hard question to answer, because there's really no answer. I think every vegetable has a different nutrient profile, and some are higher in certain vitamins and some are higher in certain minerals, and they kind of all even out. So I'm not going to say, I can't even really say that there's one that's better than the other.
Okay, we will continue on.
Okay, so now healthy cooking habits for affordability. So I'm just keeping track of my time because I tend to be able to just talk. So healthy cooking habits for affordability. So meal prep. So people hear the term meal prep, and I spoke about this in the beginning, and they get so anxious by this term. But meal prep can look 100 different ways for 100 different people. So, for example, I'm not one to sit in my kitchen all day on Sunday or Monday and just prepare all the meals for the week and put them in the fridge or the freezer. That's not my style. Some people like to do that. People that are really working full time, they like to take all day Sunday, prepare all the meals, and then, take things out of the fridge, freezer, and they're done. And that takes a lot of time, and it saves a ton of time during the week, right? And it helps keep us, eating healthy, helps keep us saving money so that we're not going out and buying takeout last minute. But things that I do are I cut up vegetables that I have in my fridge, right? So I can quickly throw them in the salad. I can quickly throw them in the oven to roast them for dinner. So that is my type of fruit. That's a food prep that I follow, right? And I do that all the time. I do that usually on Mondays. I'll get like a grocery order on Monday mornings, or I'll go out to the grocery store, and then I'll kind of prep everything. So I have it really pretty much ready for most of the week. So like I said, it can really look different for different people. And there is this time investment ahead of time, but it really, really helps save us time, and therefore it helps save us money. Repurposing leftovers. So, and we don't have to, to minimize waste and avoid boredom with meals. And I'm not saying you have to fully, repurpose them and make a whole new meal or a whole new dish out of these leftovers. But even like taking a leftover, throwing it into a salad, putting it on bread for a sandwich, frying it up with, some other beans or whatever other canned foods. There's so many things that we can do. So we should really be creative, and it's really a good way to minimize food waste.
Also like a fun activity too, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're like home and it's a snowy or cold winter day, it gives you something to do, right?
It definitely gives you something to do. It helps you like with your creativity, and you really like, we do not throw out a lot of leftovers in our house. And I'm being so honest with that. My husband is actually amazing at repurposing leftovers. I've definitely gotten better too. But I have to say, like, it's something I've really learned from him, and I really like, I like admire that about him, is that he's really good at that. He's really good at knowing how to repurpose leftovers. So yeah, it's a really great thing to do, and it's a really great way to save money and to minimize food waste. Cooking in bulk. So things like, I'm not going to say we have to start like mass producing every meal, but things like soups, stews, chilies, pasta dishes, these are things that can feed lots of people. And even if you're not, a large family, or you're not looking to feed lots of people, you can freeze them. And again, saving time, saving money, and freezing extras, right? So sometimes we are cooking for one, or we're cooking for two. We don't have to it's hard to cook for one or two, but we don't have to. We can freeze extras. And it's a really great thing to get in the habit of. It's a really good habit to get into. And these are all really great habits to get into for the new year. Again, there is some time investment ahead of time, but in terms of affordability, you're going to see a huge difference.
It's crazy, as someone who lives by myself and I'm single, I just started cooking because I just moved into my new apartment recently. And it's so true. The amount, when I start comparing my takeout bills to me cooking, and like you said, like reusing, repurposing, storing extras, you just can't even compare. Like, it is so wasteful what goes on when we're taking out. It's
Exactly. It's so true. And you really see, like, when you do all of these things, you end up just not doing as much takeout, and home cooked meals generally are going to be healthier. And they're generally going to be less money. So these are really great habits to get into.
the acid reflux. You can watch the the effects happen depending on whether it's
Yes,
home cooked or
exactly.
yeah.
It's very true with all those oils. It's a good science experiment.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're just going
So
to be talking about our next topic, right? Metabolism, and we're going to do
yeah,
a poll. You have another poll for us,
we
Ariel?
have another poll. So what is metabolism and metabolic health? And everyone that took this poll got it right. So maintenance of healthy weight, blood sugar, triglyceride levels, and cholesterol. So good job. Everyone got that right.
Our group.
So this was our last, very smart group. That's, it's hard. And I'm happy to see that people really know this because, like I said, I think so many people throw out this term metabolism, but do they really know what it is? So it seems like a lot of you do. So that's great. So what is metabolic health and why is it important? And I thought this was a really good topic to talk about because I think it's also something that is interesting to people. It's maybe a new idea to people. There's a lot of science, nutritional science behind it, which I love, and I love to bring into my webinars. And it's also refreshing for the new year. So I thought it was a great topic. So what is metabolism? So we spoke about all of the chemical reactions that occur in our bodies, including the energy it takes to digest, absorb, and process nutrients. And metabolic health is the maintenance of healthy weight, blood sugar levels, triglyceride levels, blood pressure, and cholesterol. So I love this. I don't know if I'm going to call it a quote, but it's something that really, really resonates with me. Outward appearances are not always a reflection of health on the inside. And this is kind of a twofold statement because number one, so you can look at somebody and you can say they are so fit, they're so thin, but they, could be suffering from an eating disorder. They can be suffering from depression where they're just, they're not, they're not eating well. And they're like, their anxiety or their nerves are just kind of causing them to, not, to not really gain weight, right? It's kind of but they're not really eating healthy. They're not really eating well. They may, put other really bad toxins into their bodies. So there's so many things we can say, oh, this person looks so thin, they're so healthy and fit and whatever, but really on the inside, their whole metabolic health can be out of whack. And also just in terms of mental health, and I'm not even going to go into that because it's so out of my area of expertise, but it's true. And going back to people with an eating disorder, there is a large there's a large toll. I mean, it's all mental health related, and it takes a large toll on their mental health. And so, they can look so great and so thin on the outside, but they're really dealing with a lot and suffering tremendously on the inside. So I think that there's a lot behind this phrase. And I think it's a really important thing for everybody going into the new year to really take and internalize, because don't compare yourself to others. And, if you're eating well and that you're exercising and you're generally following a healthy metabolic, diet, then, you're doing well, you're doing great. So just keep that in mind going into the new year. So healthy habits to support metabolism. So we want to eat regularly. So I said this, we want to have the 3 meals and 2 to 3 snacks, or these 5 smaller meals. We don't want to skip meals. We don't want to skip breakfast, right? And I know people always say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And for a few reasons it is. We actually see that people that skip breakfast, their metabolism start to slow down, and metabolism has a lot to do with hormones, and there's a lot to, and food kind of plays into these hormones as well. But making sure that we're eating regularly will help keep these hormones in check and help keep all of these other chemical reactions in our bodies in check, and will help keep our metabolism going as well.
Ariel, does
So,
age also have something to do with it? Because I know that so many of like my mom's friends will be like, we're older, it's so much harder for us now to lose weight because our metabolism is slowing down. Like, is that a real thing or is that a myth?
so there's a lot of biochem behind that. And to be honest, it's 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 pretty complicated, and I'm so not an expert in biochem, nutritional biochem. But like I said, there are hormones plays a huge role in that, and our hormone levels as we get older, especially in women, tend to change and shift tremendously, and also after pregnancy. And things of that sort. So there's a lot of different kind of things that play into it, but hormones are a huge part of metabolism. And so, yes, that's why it is harder, almost for women who are older. So I don't know if it's so much age, or hormones. It's more so the hormones that definitely maybe make it more difficult. But it's not to say that it's impossible. It's not to say that it's impossible at all, and that to kind of keep up this metabolic health.
Someone had a question that was sort of on the verge between our last topic and now metabolism, but your thoughts on making bread to save money and also the effects of bread on our metabolism. Like, is that something that slows it down, or not?
It really depends on how much bread you're eating, right? I mean, making bread to save money is great, but it's like extremely time consuming. Like, it's not one of these small time investment things we're doing. I think you're talking about waiting for bread to rise and yeast, and sometimes yeast doesn't work in our favor, and there's a lot that, like, there's definitely a lot of time that it takes, but yes, they're definitely going to end up saving it. It also will generally be healthier, right? You're going to see bread that you're going to make is going to go a lot quicker because there are absolutely no preservatives in there. And so generally you're going to just see, like, it's going to be less processed, right? In terms of for metabolism, yeah, I mean, we don't want to eat too much. We don't want to eat, bread all day long. We don't want to eat, simple carbohydrates all day long, because that's definitely not going to be good for our metabolism. And part of the reason is because it's going to, it's going to be detrimental to our triglycerides and our cholesterol levels and all of those things that I spoke about before. They kind of all have to be in sync almost for this metabolic health, and for our metabolisms to really kind of stay on track. So so yeah, so it's not, we don't want to eat bread all day long, but don't take bread out of your diet. That is not what I'm saying. Yes. So exactly. And on to my next thing, prioritize protein. So to increase metabolic rate, stabilize blood sugar, and to satisfy hunger, protein is a really, really great nutrient that we want to focus on. We want to definitely make sure we're getting protein in all of our meals. And I would say protein is a good thing that we want to make sure we're getting into our fats as well. I mean, into our snacks as well. Optimize omega-3s. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with what omega-3s are, but these are fatty acids. These are very important fatty acids. We typically find them in fatty fish. We find them in chia seeds. So they're a good thing to, like, throw into a smoothie or a soup or a sauce that we're making, especially if you don't eat fish. If you don't eat fish, they're not super easy to find. A lot of people do take supplements for omega-3s. Fish oil has the omega-3s. They even make omega-3 supplements as well. And this is good to promote normal triglyceride and cholesterol levels. So they're good, omega-3s are good for raising our HDL, which is our good cholesterol, and for lowering our LDL and our total cholesterol. And the LDLs are those bad cholesterol. So we want to definitely make sure we're getting good omega-3s. And if we don't eat fish, if fish is not a big part of our diet, definitely talk to your doctor about omega-3s. I'm not going to recommend you just go out there and take it. I would definitely talk to your doctor first. Doctors should be the ones to sign off on on taking supplements. But I definitely recommend you talking to your doctor if you think that you don't have a diet that's heavy in fish, or if you don't regularly eat chia seeds and things of that sort. And adequate sleep. So to maintain a healthy weight and stabilize blood sugar, it's also going to be super, super important to support this metabolism, right? And most people just don't get enough sleep. And we want healthy sleep, right? We don't really want to be like waking up for a second and like checking our phones, in the middle of the night. We really want to make sure, like, even if we have to go to the bathroom, that's fine. You're waking up, you need to go to the bathroom, but don't check your phone, right? We want to make sure we're kind of in this like oasis almost when it's sleep time, and we want to make sure we're getting good sleep, and we're getting not only the quantity, not only the hours, but the quality is important too. So quality of sleep is going to be super, super important. So we want to make sure that, like, and if you're somebody who can't hold back and look at your phone when you wake up, so put it somewhere, either in a different room, or put it somewhere, that's not right next to your bed, so that we make sure we are getting a good quality sleep.
I feel like you bring up a good point, Ariel, because people get very hung up on the 8-hour rule that I feel like we've all been taught for so long, but you can sleep for 8 hours and it not be as, deep as if you're maybe sleeping a little bit less, but it's a strong, consistent sleep pattern.
100%. Like sometimes you get like a 6-hour sleep, and I'm not saying every night we should get a 6-hour sleep, but sometimes you get a 6-hour sleep, but it's a really good sleep, and you kind of feel better. You feel better than like those 8-hour sleeps that are maybe like not as good. So it's really, yes, quantity is going to be important. I'm not saying every night get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But quality is also very important. So we want to try to set up like a space that we get both the quantity and the quality. People who know me know I go to bed very early. I always like to make sure like 9.
Oh my God.
So basically when this webinar is over, I have to get ready for bed now.
But when are you getting up?
So I wake up early. I wake up like usually around 6. So
okay,
I like to, yeah. So I like to, I like to get my hours. And then there's nights I'm up in the middle of the night, like with my kids or whatever it is, or just like things in my head. But I do make sure that I don't have my phone right next to my bed, because I don't like to like feel that I want to look at my phone, because then that like totally throws me off. So, sometimes it doesn't go according to plan. That's fine, but we should set ourselves up. We should try to set ourselves up for a good night's sleep.
Set the stage.
Exactly. Set the stage.
Okay,
exactly.
So now you're going to be sharing, Ariel, what actually eating for a metabolic health looks like and how we can apply this. So tell us.
Yes. So everybody who has been here before knows that I always like to give examples. I always like to give recipes. We don't have so many like recipes, but we definitely have good examples. And obviously everything I'm showing you is just an example. These are just to kind of like start getting the wheels turning. But I like to show what does eating for metabolic health look like, because I think it's a very abstract thing that I just spoke about. So now let's see what that looks like, right? Let's give some examples. So for breakfast, and by the way, these are like nutritional acronyms. I mean, fat is fat, but PRO is protein, and CHO are carbohydrates, just for those of you who may not be familiar with the nutritional lingo. But so for breakfast, so a loaded yogurt bowl. So this is a great example of a breakfast, right? We're getting these 3 nutrients. We're getting so many other micronutrients. We're getting so many vitamins, so many minerals. And by the way, speaking of vitamins and minerals, our next webinar in January, we are going to be speaking a lot about vitamins and minerals. So don't forget to check us out there. But let's go back to macronutrients for a minute. So we have carbohydrates. So we have our fruit, right? Fruits are carbohydrates. So raspberries, kiwis, blueberries, apples. We're getting tons of fiber in there. So fiber kind of falls under this carbohydrate, umbrella as well. So, these are great. And that's why, by the way, when I spoke about not taking out things like carbohydrates, fruit is a carbohydrate, right? They're complex. There's complex carbohydrates and there's simple carbohydrates. So simple carbohydrates are things like white bread, cake, cookies, candy. And complex carbohydrates are things like fruits, certain like, like starchy vegetables, yogurt. These are all complex carbohydrates, but these are healthy carbohydrates, right? We still want to make sure we're not overdoing it, because carbohydrates generally still are all absorbed in our bodies the same way. But we're getting so many other nutrients, and we want to make sure we're following, general guidelines. But then we have protein, right? So we have a low sugar yogurt. So I usually like to recommend a plain yogurt, but some people are really, really sensitive to that taste, to that tangy taste, especially of Greek yogurt. If you can do a plain regular yogurt, that's fine too. There's really not a lot of difference, except that Greek yogurt has a tiny bit more calcium. Protein, they're generally the same. There's a little bit more, like I said, there's a little bit more calcium in Greek yogurt. There's not much of a difference. And then fat, we have a nuts and seed blend, right? So this is a really, really great breakfast. These are loaded yogurt bowls.
I love a good yogurt bowl. It's my go-to.
Yeah. And it's also something really easy. I mean, I'm sure it's something easy you can prepare really the night before and have it like in a little jar. Definitely a lot simpler. And you can prepare all of like everything the night before, and then like grab it to go. When I was doing my dietetic internship, I had to leave my house most mornings before 5 a.m. And and if I had time, I would make a smoothie, but a lot of the times, like I'd wake up 10 minutes before I had to leave. And I always made yogurt bowls to eat in the car, because it was so easy. Like at a stop, I did not eat and drive. I was at a stoplight, and if I was at a stoplight, I would take a bite. But it was a very easy thing to kind of take and grab and go. And it was super easy to prepare the night before. And it like really, really got me to lunch. Like I would eat an early breakfast, and I was pretty much able to, if I didn't have time for a snack, I was hungry. I was hungry for lunch. But it would definitely get me to a snack. And I felt good and energized. So it really makes a difference when you have a good breakfast like this.
I know you just talked a little bit about this, but someone wants to know, since there are so many different types of yogurts now, are there any that are healthier? We know you talked about a little bit about the taste and preference, but what would you say is the healthiest of all?
Definitely. I mean, a plain Greek yogurt is going to definitely be the healthiest. I'm all about a full fat yogurt. If you are like really, really trying to lose weight, then like maybe a 2% is going to be better. But dairy fat is a really good, it's a healthy fat. So for general, like for trying to keep up with the healthy diet, if somebody is following like a Mediterranean style diet, we want a full fat dairy. So a full fat yogurt. So yes, plain Greek yogurt, that's probably going to be like that, like benchmark yogurt, but plain regular yogurt is also great. It's fine. If you want something a little bit sweeter, just look for something that's like lower in sugar. I really try to find things that are like 6 grams and less of sugar. So you have to just do a little bit of searching in the grocery stores. But a plain yogurt is definitely going to be the ideal yogurt for like a healthier yogurt.
That's great.
And by the way, you will see sugar in yogurt because there is lactose in yogurt, and that is naturally occurring sugar. So don't be scared when you see like, oh, there's sugar, it should be 0 grams. No, there shouldn't be 0 grams, because then it's not yogurt. Or it's not dairy at least. We want some sugar, but look at now nutrition labels have added sugars. So when we want like 6 grams or less of added sugar. But there will be naturally occurring sugar. So don't be scared of that.
Great tips. Are we on to lunch now? It has to be lunch.
Yes, we are on to lunch. So I know you're looking for some new meals. So
I want dinner. I'm hungry. You're going to inspire me what to make tonight.
I know. Okay. We're going to get there. So lunch, this is also great for dinner, by the way. So a vegetarian green bowl, right? So we have carbohydrates, so we have tomatoes, we have quinoa, we have hummus. Proteins, we got proteins from the quinoa, from the hummus. We can add beans in there, and fat is avocado, walnuts, any type of nuts you want in there. And then adding some other vegetables, which are considered in the nutrition world free foods, like peppers, cabbage,
cucumbers.
Cucumbers, exactly. There are no like carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in there, but obviously there are other tons of great micronutrients in there as well. So this is a great lunch. Again, don't have to follow this to a T, but it's a great, just general guideline to look at.
Ariel, with
And
avocados being so popular,
mhm.
is there such thing as eating too many avocados because they come on all of the breakfasts that I order?
100%,
Okay.
100% there is. So actually a serving size for an avocado, which is way too small in my opinion, is like a quarter of an avocado.
Wow.
But I generally tell people not to eat more than half of an avocado
A day.
at a time. Yeah, like or like a day. Because avocados, as much as they're a good fat, they're high in fat, but it's a good fat, and there's so much fiber in avocado. Some people actually like avocado is a laxative for them. That's how much fiber there is, which is pretty funny. And people that have to follow like FODMAP diets, avocado works really well for them because roughage and like fibrous foods are usually pretty hard on them. But avocados are actually like a softer, like it's not as rough. There's not as much roughage in there, but it is a good fiber. So avocados are great. But yes, there is definitely eating too much fiber. It's the same thing like peanut butter. Peanut butter is a great snack, but like 1 tablespoon is 99 calories, right? So we just want to make sure that we're following guidelines. I definitely don't want to tell anyone not to eat avocado and not to eat peanut butter because these are such great foods for us, and there's healthy fats in there, and we want those healthy fats. But we need to obviously follow portion sizes and use them more as a guideline, right? Like a quarter of an avocado may not be enough, but half of an avocado is
Plenty.
is plenty, and we don't need to be eating a whole avocado. But that was a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. Because by the way, portion sizes is super important. I'll have some people tell me their diets and be like, I don't understand, why am I not losing weight? And then they'll tell me how much they're eating of things.
Right.
I'm like, well, because you're eating like an entire squash or an entire avocado. And I'm never going to tell someone not to eat squash or avocado because I don't think people are like gaining weight per se from that. But when they're eating all the time, like large amounts of these foods, it's just adding up calories, and taking calories will cause or rather prevent us from like weight loss.
Right.
So it's just important to be cognizant of it. I definitely don't want to like steer people away from eating these foods because they're great for us, but just something to be cognizant of. And last but not least, dinner, stuffed peppers. So we have the rice, which is the carbohydrate. The bell peppers is not a carbohydrate. That's a mistake in there. I apologize. For protein, we can use ground turkey, chicken, beef. We can use like cheese, tofu, really whatever you want. You can do beans. And for a fat, we have olive oil. Again, you can add some avocado in there if you want. You can also use avocado oil if you don't want to use olive oil. These are both very healthy fats, and really delicious. And we actually have a stuffed pepper recipe on our Fair Meals website, which is so delicious. It's such an easy meal to make. So I definitely recommend you guys check that out because it's on the Fair Meals website in our recipes section. And that is a really, oh no, let's talk about balanced snacks. I forgot we have snacks in there. And yes, snacks are super important. So hard-boiled eggs are great. This is a great source of protein. Carrots and hummus, or any sort of like vegetable and hummus. Again, we're getting some good fats in there, some good nutrients, and peanut butter. So all of the things that I was talking about, peanut butter and whole grain toast, or even mashing up some avocado on whole grain toast. These are really good snacks for us. And by the way, some of these are meals for people. And when I said before that having 3 meals and 3 snacks, or having 5 or 6 smaller meals, like this can be one meal, right?
I eat apples with almond butter for lunch all the time, and it's like
plenty. Yeah, for sure. So for some people that works because you typically will then like maybe need that extra snack. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it really is what works for you, but definitely we want to prioritize making sure we're getting carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and making sure we're following a balanced diet, and we're having these balanced meals and balanced snacks.
Such good tips.
Okay, why is that going backwards? Oops, that's why. And that is really all we have for tonight. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to write it in the chat box. You can also email me You can email me at info@fairmeals.org, or you can email me at ariel@fairmeals.org. I'm going to update that for next time, but feel free. People tend to have questions after the webinar is over and tend to email me or ask me for, certain questions. So feel free to email me. Check us out on social media, check out our website. And that's really it.
It was so informative. I feel like now I know so much more of what to do, because I'm telling you, like, meal prepping, everything is much newer to me because I'm so used to just having the access of takeout when you live in New York. But it really is like important to prioritize this. It's like something you just like have to do, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like you said, like shifting that mindset. And I'm sure there's going to be times in the new year you're going to get into that funk of doing takeout, and that's fine. But then like every so often just tell yourself, you know what, I'm going to have 1 week now where I'm just going to meal prep, and like just get yourself every so often get back on the horse.
When you start, it's right. It's easier than
exactly when you start and you kind of like have that mental shift. That's when like the change happens. So I hope that like everybody enjoyed this and like really got some good tips in how to kind of get our new year off to a good start.
It was excellent. You really helped us all get ready for 2022. So thank you so much, Ariel.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sydney. It was such a pleasure having you. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
You're so good. I'm so hungry now for the peppers.
Thank
and for
you.
everything. You did an excellent job.